Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's FPL Yusuf and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today, I've got a transfer target video for you guys looking ahead to game week 36. We're getting to that stage now where we're nearly at the end of the season. So the next few picks in terms of game weeks could be crucial to where you finish in your mini league. And obviously the aim for all of us is to try and finish as high as possible. So hopefully, fingers crossed with this video and the transfer targets we've got today can hopefully help you guys do that. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, welcome back, guys. As you guys can see on the screen, we're going to just pick up from where we finished off for this current game week. Now, at the time of recording, it's only Wednesday, so we've got one more game to go tomorrow, which is Chelsea against Spurs. But for most of us, the teams are probably going to be pretty much wrapped up. I've only got 2 players left to go. I've got Cole Palmer, who's obviously on captain, which, you know, for a lot of us, we're probably all going to be in the same boat. And I also have Nicholas Jackson up front for Chelsea as well. So currently on 60 points, which, you know what, overall, I'm fairly pleased with. Did take a -4 this week, I believe. So not too bad. A little bit gutted that I didn't move the Salah to De Bruyne transfer, but we are going to get onto that later, as that is going to be one of the moves that I do aim to go ahead with before game week 36. But as you can see, overall, not too bad. The average currently in about the 40s, currently rolled out on 60. So it's been overall, it's been a good game week. I feel like the last few weeks have been genuinely quite positive in terms of the way we've been going, the direction we've been going. Hopefully Chelsea can pick up a big result against Tottenham tomorrow. I know a lot of people are going to be invested in Spurs assets, Son, Pedro Porro, probably Vicario as well. So apologies if you own them, but yeah, not a bad week at all. But as I said at the start of the video, we're going to look ahead to game week 36 and we're going to get into the transfer targets. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each position and we're going to just go through the top 3 picks ahead of this week. Now, bear in mind, some of these picks will be useful just to keep, obviously, for double game week 37 next week, which is kind of what these picks are about. A lot of them have got thought of the upcoming week in 36, but also with a thought in mind for the double in 37. So defenders, we're going to start off. Now, despite Arsenal not having a double in 37, I still think Arsenal defenders are the best assets to own at the moment for defence. And I've put Ben White at number 1 because I just genuinely think he will offer you more chance of a clean sheet than maybe others, even though despite they have a double and he doesn't, I still think that there's a chance that he outscores them. Arsenal just this season have been so good defensively. They're David Ray's pushing for a Golden Glove. Arsenal just keeping clean sheets left, right, and centre. They've got a nice fixture at home to Bournemouth, one that can't be taken lightly because Solanke, with him, he's very clinical, so all he takes is one chance. But I'm quite confident that Arsenal will get the job done there. And I have gone Ben White over Gabriel and Saliba, obviously because he offers the attacking threat a little bit more so than they do. But yeah, I think he's just a viable pick, for now. Man United away in game week 37, which, to be honest with you, I could still see Arsenal getting a clean sheet there as well. Arsenal don't actually have the best record at Old Trafford, but I feel like with the way everything's going, the fact that Arsenal need to win their last 3 games to give them a chance to win the title, I feel like Arsenal can be ruthless. But obviously Ben White offers an attacking threat as well, so it's not just the clean sheet in mind. So yeah, I've still gone for an Arsenal defender in at number 1. Number 2, now this is where it gets tricky. If you'd asked me this time last week, Fabian Schär would have been my number 1 pick, as he was in the video back then. However, it has come out that he did come off at half time in the last game for Newcastle. And Newcastle are back to that stage where they are really struggling for bodies at the moment. Jamal Lascelles is out for the season. Botman's out for the season. Fabian Schär, at this time of recording, I don't actually know how serious his hamstring injury is. I don't know whether he'll be back on the weekend. Trips is, no one knows when he's going to be back. So they are struggling. So I've gone for Dan Burn. Probably will end up playing centre back, and you'll probably see Lewis Hall playing left back for Newcastle, just because they really haven't got numbers at the moment. So I was a lot more confident about this pick this time last week. Now, if you are bringing in a Newcastle defender, just bear in mind, I don't know whether I expect them to get a clean sheet this week. I think Burnley, especially because Burnley are going to be at home, I think there's a chance that Burnley could score. Newcastle depleted their numbers, as I said. So I wouldn't pin all your hopes on the Newcastle clean sheet this week. Take the fixture. Obviously, on paper, it's a great fixture. Obviously, Newcastle bring a double in 37, but I wouldn't be so confident to say that I could guarantee that Newcastle are going to keep a clean sheet this week, because truthfully, I'm not. But I think Dan Burn, at the price he is, I think he's 4.6 million at the moment. I think he's just the best option. You could risk it for like a Livramento, someone who's quite attacking. Will start, obviously, if Trippier's not here, and even if Trippier does come back, he can play left back, so there is a chance that he does that if Dan Burn plays centre back. But yeah, for me, just err on the side of caution with this one, because I'm not sure how solid Newcastle will be defensively. And finally, the last defender I'm going to go with is actually a Crystal Palace man, and that is Joachim Andersen. Now, he is very low owned, right? So, like I said at the start of the video, this is the time of the season where we're trying to make gains, we're trying to make rank boosts. Crystal Palace have got decent fixtures from now to the end of the season, but they just look like a different team under their new manager, and they fill me with a lot more confidence than maybe I did when they were under Roy Hodgson. I think he's very, obviously, Joachim Andersen is very cheap. At this point in the season, it's questionable whether you need the money or not, right? But yeah, I think he's a great pick. He offers an attacking set piece, but also he offers quite a good assist threat as well from centre back. He has this range of passing which is just exceptional for a centre back. So I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see Joachim Andersen rock up with an attacking return. And usually when he does, it usually couples with bonus points. So yeah, for me, he's an outside differential in this one. I put him at number 3 because I do think that obviously Arsenal and Newcastle with the double next week as well are just better picks. But I wouldn't sleep on Joachim Andersen from Crystal Palace, and he is going to be my number 3rd choice in this list for defence. Okay, so on to the midfielders now. I think these 3 go without saying, and I apologize in advance. This section won't be long because they kind of speak for themselves, really. Number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, is Cole Palmer. He's just been exceptional all year long. He's currently pushing for the Golden Boot, so you know he's going to be at it, at trying to get goals and trying to rack up his tally to try and beat Haaland to it, which would be an incredible achievement for someone who's moved from a bit popular at Man City to Chelsea's main man and chasing the way for the Golden Boot. I know a lot of them have been coupled with penalties, but you know what? You have to score them at the end of the day. So he is my number 1 pick. Obviously, has another double next week. If you have him this week, then you would just probably keep him until the end of the season anyway, due to the fact that he has a double next week. So yeah, Cole Palmer, I think it kind of goes without saying, very cheap on penalties, great chance of returning, is my number 1. Now, number 2, number 3, this could go either way. I've got Foden in at number 2 and De Bruyne at number 3. The reason why I've gone for Foden number 2 is I just think he offers a little bit more of a goal threat than Kevin De Bruyne does. Now, Foden obviously didn't play their last game. He was out with illness. Now, I do expect him to be back up for the Wolves game at home. And obviously, as City don't play the FA Cup till after the season, I'd imagine that Pep would just go full strength every week because there's nothing else to rotate for. So I'd imagine if you've got Foden or you've got De Bruyne or you're going for both of them, like myself this week, which I'm going to be doing, yeah, I can't see you going wrong with owning both of them. I think they'll probably get the minutes, especially if they're chasing the game, which hopefully, as an Arsenal fan, they are. But in terms of FPL points, I think Foden just about beats De Bruyne to it, just because I think he offers a little bit more of a goal threat than Kevin De Bruyne does. However, if you are on a wild card or you've just wild carded or you're looking just to make changes to try and boost your rank, to be honest with you, I would just go for both of them. I think Salah, I think you can give up Salah for the rest of the season. I think it's just time to call it quits for this season with him. Maybe look at getting him back next year. But I think the money that you save from Salah will allow you to move to De Bruyne and someone else. So I think it just makes sense long term. So yeah, we've gone for Foden number 2 and De Bruyne at number 3. So that's the roundup of the defenders and the midfielders. Let's just get straight onto the forwards now. Okay, so again, a lot of these picks are going to kind of go without saying. So as you can see on screen, Erling Haaland coming in at number 1. I think it's just the obvious choice. He's back from injury now, came off the bench, scored within a couple of minutes but against Nottingham Forest. Has a double next week. Wolves at home this week. He just is the best striker on paper. He's the best striker in the league, and I just think it's a no-brainer. Like I said in the midfielders bit of this video, money's not really an option for a lot of people right now, so there should be no problems affording him. And I just think he goes without saying, really. He's probably a set and forget captain for the rest of the season as well. So yeah, Erling Haaland coming in at number 1. At number 2, again, another pretty obvious one is Alexander Isak. Just the most informed striker at the moment, is just continuing to return for Newcastle, come off the back of a brace. Like I said in my last week video, I know Callum Wilson is back, but to be honest with you, I think Callum Wilson is just going to be off the bench type business for Newcastle. I think Isak is their main man leading the line. Now, there was a little bit of touch and go last season, maybe at the start of this season, where, you know, was it Wilson? But I think that debate's kind of over now. Whether Isak will be there in the summer or not, that's another question. But I think Isak, just the form he's in, he just can't be dropped. You know, he's just scoring every week. Burnley away. Like I said, I don't expect Newcastle to keep a clean sheet, but I do definitely expect them to score, and I expect that man to be instrumental to how they attack. So yeah, Alexander Isak for me, definitely number 2. And finally, number 3. Now, number 3 was a difficult one because you could go with a player who is just a general good player, Ollie Watkins, who is the first name that comes to mind. Obviously, he doesn't have a double with 37, but just he's having an exceptional season. However, like I said, this video is kind of all about rank gain, right? And about trying to boost your fixtures as best you can. And I think for me personally, there's a few strikers that you kind of want to look at in that last sort of spot. The one I've gone for is Rasmus Højlund from Manchester United. Now, they've got a difficult double, I must say, in 37. It's against Arsenal and it's against Newcastle. However, I think just with the double fixtures alone, even if it's not Hoyland, you probably want to target someone like that, someone who's got a double. Now, Nicholas Jackson's another one with an outside chance. But I think for me, I've just gone Hoyland because I think his ownership is just low enough that if he does return, you will make significant gain for that. Now, it is a risk, it's a gamble. Hoyland, I don't think the question is about his finishing. I think the question around him is, is he going to get the service? Which is obviously another question entirely. But for me, as just an outside punt, an outside differential, I think, I think Rasmus Hoyland is just a great way to go for that. So that is a roundup of all my top 3 targets for defense, midfield, and attack. We're going to move right on to the differentials of the week now. Okay, so differentials of the week. Now, we had a mixed bag. We did get a return last week, and it was from Hwang Hee-chan against Luton Town. He did manage to get himself a goal. Only came away with 6 points, though, which was, I think, a little bit disappointing, actually, to be honest with you, especially because of how low owned he was. I think if you made the move and you went for him, I think you can feel maybe a little bit hard done by that he didn't actually end up in bonus points. But we did get a return, which is, obviously always a nice thing to have. Unfortunately, that was the only return we got, but we'll take it. One is obviously better than none. Now, this week, all the differentials are going to be strikers. I have a feeling that there's not going to be many clean sheets this coming week. I think a lot of teams are kind of, it's at that stage now where everyone's playing for their own things. You've got some teams who are fighting relegation. You've got other teams going for the top 4. You've got other teams challenging for the title. So most teams are kind of got their own battles going on at the moment. I think that the time to sit back and try and be reserved is kind of out the window now. It's like almost you have to go for it. So I think that just kicks us off perfectly with my first differential of the week, and that's Chris Wood. Only 1.8% owned, which actually blows my mind because he's actually been returning really well for Forest. And I don't know what happened to him against Man City. I'd bet my money on him scoring that goal, but he didn't. He actually clocked up a very nice XG against Man City as well. So he's in good form at the moment, Chris Wood, and the way Forest play, it kind of plays to him as the central man. So like I said, 1.8% owned, playing against Sheffield United. It is away, granted, but I think that could be a game of big returns. Especially because I think Sheffield can't really sit back. I know that they're relegated now, and like there's not much they can do, but you kind of want to, especially as like it's one of their last home games, you almost want to give the fans something to go out on. So I could see that one being quite an open game, which for Chris Wood might actually be quite beneficial actually. So yeah, Chris Wood is my first differential of the week up here. Second on the list is João Pedro. Now this one's a little bit more tricky because obviously he's playing against a much better team in Aston Villa. Again, 5.2% owned. Just to go over the parameters for this, my differential of the week is 7.5% and under. So João Pedro does fall into that category. Obviously, he is on penalties for Brighton. I think this one, whether this is successful or not, depends on whether Emi Martinez plays. Now, if Robin Olsen is in goal for Villa, obviously we saw Martinez come off at half-time with an injury. I don't know how bad it is at the time of recording because we haven't heard any press conferences, but I think that there is room for João Pedro to actually get on the score sheet here. As I said, only 5.2% owned, so really small margin. But if he does return, it could be seriously big gains. So yeah, João Pedro coming in at number 2. And finally, third on the list, which this one I'm most excited about, is Mikel Antonio. Now, there was a few seasons ago, I think West Ham played Norwich, I believe it was on the last day of the season. And I brought Mikel Antonio in, but I was going to captain him, but I didn't. And he ended up scoring 4 goals. Now, granted, I don't think he's going to score 4 against Chelsea. I think that would be quite an open game. But I could see West Ham getting a few goals in that because Chelsea defensively aren't great. I could also see them conceding a few, but with Antonio, you're not bothered about that. 1.8% owned, very cheap. Again, all of these players under 6 million. It is a risk. It is definitely a gamble. But I think he's quite assured for his starts at the moment. So I wouldn't be worried about minutes risk or rotation. I think he will start. And I do think there's a chance that he could be a problem for Chelsea. They haven't really had a set centre-back pairing for the last few weeks. So I think that's something that he could possibly exploit. So all 3 of these differentials, I don't really mind which way you go with them. I think all of them in their own right are good players and could bring something else, bring something different to the game that they're playing in. But let's hope that, fingers crossed, that some of these, if you guys want to take up on them, can propel you up your mini leagues. And hopefully that will be the reason why you finish where you want to finish. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching today. If you have enjoyed the video, please drop it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I will be back with a final team selection on Friday. So I'm going to go over kind of what I'm aiming for, and I'll show you a final finish to my team. I'll show you the transfers I made. At the time of recording, my transfers are kind of pretty much set in my mind, at least anyway. It will be Salah, Diaz, and Akanji out, Foden, De Bruyne, and then probably a Newcastle defender, probably Dan Burn, as I spoke about earlier, coming in. But I will show you my confirmed transfers on Friday's preview video ahead of the game week 36 deadline, and we'll go over some final thoughts and some final key questions around certain players. Should we go for them? Shouldn't we go for them? But yeah, like I said, if you have enjoyed this video, please drop it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I'll be back on Friday. Bye bye.